He's going to have a go here. Butland spills it, and Idah scores! Minute 90! Celtic lead! And that might be the goal that wins yet another Scottish Cup for Celtic! And Jack Butland, who's been magnificent all season, has just sold the trophy.
Idah's onside, and like all good strikers, follows it in. Look, the ball moves, Jack Butland's already gone down to his right, and it comes more central, but he should be dealing with it. Idah, full credit.
Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Obviously, very happy David67. I had an afternoon, evening and night of celebrations for Celtic winning the double yet again. That is 19 out the last 24 trophies since the new version of Rangers rejoined the top league. So a pretty incredible run of success, and was also a farewell to Joe Hart, who won 7 out of the 9 trophies available to him as a Celtic player. So lovely send-off for Joe Hart, and as I've said in a couple of comments today, I'm pretty sure we'll see him back at Celtic Park on a regular basis as a TV and radio pundit for Champions League and the Scottish League and Cup matches. And I think he'll also be back with pro-Celtic comments, much the same as Chris Sutton, Stilian Petrov, John Hartson, etc. So today's video, going to be, as I said, a little post-match review of Celtic's 1-0 win in the Scottish Cup. Started the video with a clip of Adam Idah's winning goal in the 89th minute. Was overall a pretty, for me, rotten game. Neither side really got going. Awful lot of bad-tempered bits, an awful lot of little petty, stupid fouls. The referee gave away countless yellow cards. It did seem to be a wee bit lenient for me on Diomande and Cantwell and Raskin early in the game. Booked Callum McGregor very early in terms of McGregor's foul count, and then seemed to let Cantwell, Raskin and Diomande away with quite a lot of fouls. I think also Sima was quite lucky to get away with just a yellow card when he kicked out several times Alistair Johnston, who was blocking the ball on the touchline. But in the end, we won. A scrappy game overall, and just going to pop in now the highlights and key moments of the match. There weren't terribly many. There was the possible penalty for Celtic in the first half. There was the correctly disallowed goal in the second half, and then there was the winner. And there's also a wee bit of celebrations attached to these extracts from the BBC highlights package. So enjoy the highlights, and then we'll have a nice chat regarding the ratings, the stats, and a wee bit more about the game. So hopefully you enjoyed those little brief highlights. As I said, wasn't really a game with a tremendous amount of quality football. Neither side really had terribly many chances to actually score. Just looking at the actual stats, Celtic had a 63 to 37% possession win. Shots were 8 for Celtic, 11 for Rangers, but with both teams having 4 on target, with Butland making 3 saves and Joe Hart making 4. Celtic blocks 6 shots of Rangers. Rangers blocked 3 Celtic shots. Foul count was 19 to 3. 19 by Rangers, 13 by Celtic, but we had 7 yellow cards and they had 5. And the one stat where Rangers did have dominance over us was corners, which were 11 to 3. And corners were a recurring issue for Celtic and was pretty much the only time Rangers looked like they had any real chance of scoring. John Beaton, to be fair, in the VAR room, kept himself out the game. He did come in to have a look at the possible penalty kick. I think it was, by the way that we have been seeing VAR and referees interpret handball, I think it was a penalty kick. I don't think it should have been a penalty kick. I think the amount of distance and the speed the ball came off of Kyogo to hit Davis's hand was very short distance, high speed. In the old days, it definitely wouldn't have been a penalty because of that really short distance. Now, it would appear that John Beaton said that was a natural position, but for me, Davis's hand is away from his body. He's not really using his hand to balance himself. And had the ball not hit Davis's hand, I think it was James Forrest was behind with a potential chance to divert that head flick by Kyogo on goal. So I think it's a penalty kick that has been given multiple times in Scottish football by VAR over the season, and quite often not given by VAR over the course of this season. And it is one issue I think we do need to really get definitive guidance for referees and VAR, which is what is a penalty kick and what isn't a penalty kick for handball. And high feet also is another issue I think that Willie Collum, when he takes over as refereeing chief, really needs to iron out with referees and VAR so there's a consistent way of interpreting handball in the box and high feet as to whether it's a foul, yellow card, red card, and what is or isn't a handball penalty kick. However, the fact we didn't get a penalty kick, I wouldn't be too fussed over. I think it would have been a harsh penalty. Technically, probably, perfectly reasonably. I think Rangers fans at the other end would have been screaming for a penalty had that been Liam Scales or Carter Vickers, etc. And I dare say, if it had been Willie Collum on VAR, they would have been screaming bias and so on, especially given the fact that he lost the game in the end. I think there is absolutely little doubt that the goal for the push by Raskin on Hart was correctly disallowed by John Beaton, with Nick Walsh reviewing the decision, having had an angle he wouldn't have seen first hand because there were just so many players in and around the 6-yard box. Pretty clear Raskin's job there was to get in the way of Hart. When that failed to happen, he then puts 2 hands on Hart's back, and as Hart starts to come for the ball, gives him a real push, which means Hart gets under the ball goes over the top, past Alistair Johnston, and then hits off Seema's knee to score. Again, I think happily John Beaton stepped in and correctly advised Nick Walsh to have another look. An angle, as I said, Walsh wouldn't have seen the first time around, and goal correctly disallowed. There were 1 or 2 other wee VAR looks at possible red cards, but there was little Otherwise, of note, there were a few offsides given by the assistant referees. All appeared to be perfectly correct, and there were no other real issues in the game. A lot of Rangers fans and Rangers management were screaming about Liam Scales pushing over the Rangers player near the edge of the box. It wasn't in the box, so not really something VAR can intercede in. It looked to me like the Rangers player got in between the two Celtic players, both running back, and there was a tangle of arms and a tangle of legs. For me, it wasn't a foul. It was just coming together of three players in a closed space. Quite a lot of Rangers fans and pundits were screaming about Carter Vickers' challenge on Dessers in the box. Again, Celtic did very well to block the ball. Carter Vickers then picked up the rebound, knocked it away from Dessers' feet, and Desser following through caught Carter Vickers' leg and tumbled over in the box. For me, again, just two players coming together, going for the same ball. Carter Vickers had already cleared the ball away, and his leg was simply there in the process of finishing off the clearance with a wee bit of a follow through, as is natural when you kick the ball, and Dessers collided with Carter Vickers' leg on the ground. Nothing from me. So, rather poor game, as I was saying, all around. Don't think any Celtic player really had a great game. For me, man of the match was Carmen Carter Vickers. I gave him 7.5. And I gave 7 also for Alistair Johnston. I thought he defended well. I thought he kept Fabio Silva pretty quiet apart from one time. I thought he got forward very well. I thought he got the ball out of defence very well. And he did have a half chance to score in the first half. A shot got slightly deflected and Butland pushed it round the post for a corner. I thought Alistair Johnson had a good game. Other player I gave a 7 to was Adam Idah. He came on for a rather ineffectual, unthreatening Kyogo and got himself involved and showed great striker instincts to follow in Paulo Bernardo's shot to score and kept very calm in timing his run, keeping himself onside, and was clearly onside when he scored the goal that gave Celtic the cup. I thought he also did very well in the 10 minutes of added time, keeping the ball down in the corner and running down the clock on several occasions. And he got himself involved a lot of the time in defence, clearing, I think it was 3 corner kicks away from the goal. And so good all-round game from Adam Idah. So my best players of the game, Carter Vickers 7.5 and 7s for Alistair Johnston and Adam Idah. Now for the players who didn't do so well, I gave Nicholas Kuhn a 5, Kyogo a 5, Matt O'Reilly a 5 and Hatate a 5. I thought our midfielders, apart from Carl McGregor, had very poor games. Hatate, for me, did very little. I think it was one of Matt O'Reilly's worst games of the season for Celtic. A lot of his passes were overhit, underhit. He never really got himself into the box properly to be a threat. He never really had a killer pass to set up Kyogo or the wide players. And so for me, O'Reilly gets a 5. Kuhn did virtually nothing in the whole time he came on to replace James Forrest. Hatate, as I said, rather poor. And Kyogo, apart from chasing down the fullbacks and goalkeeper to slow down Rangers getting the ball back out, I thought Kyogo did next to nothing in the game, other than head flick the ball onto Davies's hand for the possible penalty. He did have one half chance, but appeared to kind of snatch at it when there was a bit of a melee with the ball coming across the box from a corner. So 5s for those players. Gave 6 for James Forrest and Greg Taylor. Don't think either player really got himself into the game. James Forrest a couple of times did show flashes of good skill down the right wing. A couple of times he got into the box, but his shooting boots weren't on. Greg Taylor didn't have a bad match as such, but didn't think he nearly as much as Alistair Johnson got forward into midfield and into attack. Rangers didn't really beat him down the right-hand side very much. He kept Sterling and McCausland, etc., pretty quiet. Wasn't really an issue with him defending high balls, which maybe Celtic just slightly rejigged the way they defended corners and high balls, etc. And so 6 for Greg Taylor and 6.5 for Paolo Bernardo, Dyson Maida, Callum McGregor, and Joe Hart. Also, just looking at my notes, I upgraded Liam Scales from a 6.5 to a 7. Liam Scales, I think, actually had a pretty good game as a defender. Rangers really didn't get much joy out of Carter Vickers or Scales. They kept Dezers under control. They kept Sema under control. They didn't really allow Cantwell, McCausland, etc. into the box. Scales, I think, stood up to the Rangers' attacking players well. Didn't really, as I say, give them any real chances. A few nice interceptions and clearances. His distribution still rather poor. Still looked rather nervy, but a bit better than recent weeks. And so I gave Scales a 7. So apologies for missing out Scales in my first roundup. Joe Hart did everything he could. Didn't really have any proper saves to make. A few half-hit shots and powder puff shots from Rangers. Did come out a few times to clear corners. And when he was beaten, it was because of foul play. So 6.5 for Joe Hart in his last game. Paolo Bernardo came on and did get himself involved. And then I thought, very, very good run by Paolo Bernardo coming from halfway. Staying on his feet when he was clipped on the halfway line, I think, by Raskin. Drove forward, trying to draw the Rangers players onto him to pass for Idah or Maida or possibly Kuhn in the box. However, Rangers kept on backing off. He then shot from around the edge of the box. The shot did take a nice swerve. Not sure if that was deliberate or just the way that Bernardo hit the ball as it came to him. However, his shot swerved nicely. Butland mishandled it, and Idah was there to take the rebound. McGregor, I think, in the first half got really involved. He was very important, but his contribution in the second half was less. I think that was because Rangers crowded him far more in the second half, which should have opened up space for Hattati and O'Reilly and the White players, but it didn't really. Thought similarly, Maida started the game very, very well, quite a few times at the start of the game. Got in behind Tavernier, beat Tavernier for pace. That seemed to diminish as the game went on, I think probably because Sterling and Tavernier were doubling up on Maida going down their right, our left. But Maida did get involved a wee bit later in the game. A couple of nice touches and runs late in the game. But disappointingly, his final ball wasn't great, and he never seemed to get into the box properly to support Kyogo and the midfielders. And so just a 6.5 for Dyson Maida. So encouraging for Celtic. We won the game, we won the cup, despite the fact we were a bit under par. Rangers management and Clement seemed to assert that they were the better side, that even Celtic conceded that they were the better side. The stats don't really suggest one side being better than the other. I think both teams lacked quality. I think both teams got rather tense and frantic, which I think is also evidenced by the 7-5 yellow card count. Given the fact that we gave away less fouls than Rangers, it does seem a wee bit harsh that we had 7 yellow cards, although I think a few of those were for Little petty things like pushing Cantwell back down to the ground and a bit of pushing and shoving with Adam Idah. And I think Callum McGregor, particularly in the second half, got rather frustrated at the number of yellow cards his team were getting and the number of non-yellow card Rangers were getting for similar fouls and incidents. However, I think Nick Walsh, in the end, handled the game pretty well. Didn't really have any grumbles with his refereeing. Yellow card count, as I say, could have been a bit more fairer, a bit more consistent. And in the end, we won. Got the double yet again. And this is ahead, looking at the 8 seasons since Rangers were reborn and came back to the top level. We've had 19 out of 24 trophies. 2 of those trophies went to St Johnstone that we didn't get, and just 3 went to the reborn Rangers side. So I think that should just about finish things off for today. Away having a long weekend break, so we'll be back on Tuesday, but I will be keeping an eye on the channel and doing some quiz questions and comment replies, etc. whilst away on holiday, but won't be doing any videos again until Tuesday or Wednesday. And so, thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel and you've liked the content of this video and have liked looking through the other videos on the channel, quite a lot of different styles of video. Interesting one recently about Daniel Amarte, player Celtic are said to be looking at the number 5, number 6 role for Celtic next season. That's an interesting one. There are some interesting videos also about the women's side and other players that Celtic are looking at, plus other things like goal of the season, etc. So do have a wee look through the back catalogue of videos. If you like what you see, do click that subscribe button, keep those numbers going up and up. Do feel free to click the like button if you've liked the video, and as always, do put pleasant, polite, constructive, informative, debating comments so we can have a nice chat on the channel. And so, until Tuesday, Wednesday, goodbye. Well done, Celtic, on winning the double yet again. And hail, hail.